The sun is high and I'm getting up. I think I might finally be giving up. Boots are tight when I'm standing up. They tap in the glass of my half-empty cup. And you say, change your ways. I really don't think that I could. Been walking around with my head hanging down, and I really don't think that I should. Gonna head downtown, let down. Can't hide behind your preconceived notions of who you think I should be. Hold my tongue if you have a vice. If you press hard enough, I might try to play it nice. If you say, change your ways, I really don't think that I could. Been walking around with my head hanging down, and I really don't think that I should.
Hey guys.
Hi.
Is everyone here? Yep. Alrighty, and that was Downtown Letdown, our song. So our deal with our songs is I went through and asked all of our authors that we're featuring to pick a song that really inspires them to write. Maybe they listen to it while they're writing or anything. And if you know our guest today, you know that she's a bit of a fan of Loud and Slain. I mean, just a little bit. So that one posed the question, what song Downtown Letdown by Loud and Slain was her choice. And again, sorry we're super late. My bad. But hey, on the bright side, I've got food and I will be munching because I haven't eaten today.
I think it's kind of both are bad because my Wi-Fi just decided to that we were about to call each other. So, but at least it didn't happen in the middle of the thing.
Heard that.
So I guess this is our first time doing this, and the idea behind it is kind of having different amazing authors, Tumblr authors, on and talk about different themes this week. And this week we're going to be talking about the stigma of fanfiction. What do you think the stigma of fanfiction is?
Working on it.
I broke her because she was eating while I was asking a question.
I feel like a lot of fan fiction writers are just seen as, you know, we're the crazy fans, we're the ones that, you know, we're the stalkers, we know every single detail, which in some cases you do know every single detail, Kari.
Yeah.
It's like the statement.
The stalker thing is getting thrown at me daily by Rachel, but yeah, I'm not stalking anyone. I just got a crazy glue brain, and I remember that little bit of conversation that happened in season 1, and I remember that little bit of information I read about Jensen 10 years ago. So it sticks.
This is not fan fiction. I feel like I don't know if I told you guys the story. I was going to, but then our conversations digress. But I was with a coworker and she was like, oh, she writes. And I was like, oh, you should join our creative writing club at school, blah, blah, blah. She goes, well, I don't really write conventional. I was like, oh, so what do you write? She goes, well, I write fan fiction. She said it really, really shy. I was like, oh, do you write readers or OCs? Where do you post? Tumblr? Like, I just started asking questions, like trying to convey that it's okay because there are other ones like that. And it's like, it's not that big of a deal, which it really, really isn't. And I think it's
just so awesome that she daring to say it anyway, because you never know, even if you are among other fans, you never know what kind of perception you're getting. Because even in a room full of geeks, if you say that you write fan fiction, you can get attacked and almost shamed out of the room, which has happened to me a few times. But I think getting back to what the stigma is, I think a lot of people think it's teenagers sitting in their rooms writing porn. Pretty much. I don't think that they know that there is such a broad range of who we actually are. You are 20, I'm 30, and Michelle is in her 40s, or guessed a bit later. So there's no age to it, and there's no specific thing that you write. Some people write gay smut, sure, which is something people also think is all that it is. Some people write smut and reader inserts, and I guess it is a self-writing herself into the stories, but there's also just the fact that it's, for some people, for like, I started out writing OCs because I've been writing different stuff than fanfiction way before I started writing fanfiction. And it was just not getting a lot of attention, and readers are. And to me, my readers are just nameless OCs. They are not just a blank person that I put into the fic. It's still the same way it would be if it was just, yeah, if it was an OC fic, or if it was a original work. I don't know if it's only my YouTube that is buffering like crazy because my Wi-Fi. I don't know. Is anyone with us?
We have 10 people watching.
We have a few people watching. Okay, Rachel, you will have to make sure that everything is right on the YouTube end because it won't do anything on my end. It's just buffering, so I'm just gonna ignore it.
I'm watching it. I'm keeping an eye on it. Guys, I have so much food. Like, I have all of this, and then I have an entire bag. And
do you want me to introduce our guest, or do you want to do it before you stuff your mouth full with? I said 2 seconds too late. Is this gonna be a weekly event, Rachel, watching you eat?
I mean,
semi-weekly.
I mean, it's 4 o'clock and I haven't eaten anything today. Go easy on me.
Next time, eat before you pop your tire.
I didn't eat anything. I was stuck at Walmart for 2.5 hours.
Okay, and introduce Michelle.
Okay, I'll do it. If you guys don't know if we don't know Miss Michelle over here, our beautiful, lovely Mrs. Whoozy what? How do I pronounce it? I can't pronounce the funny version.
You can't even pronounce Whoozy Watsis?
Here it is.
Yeah. See that I can't pronounce, but I can pronounce her real last name. So yeah. Yay.
Give her a follow right here, right now. Drop the live stream. Go follow her because, I mean,
okay, don't get off the live stream just to follow me.
Well, I mean, fine.
Unless you have my wonky Wi-Fi, you can do both at the same time. You can have the live stream going while you go follow Michelle.
Follow on your phone. Look her up on your phone, guys. Everyone's got your phone except for me because mine's at 17%. Sorry, I looked over.
Which just reminded me I need to get my phone because my questions is on my phone.
Oh yeah, I have so many tabs open. This is Michelle. Her gorgeous face is on your screen at the moment. She is a great author, of course. Sorry, and one of my favorite things about Michelle is all of her reblogs are the greatest things to have that are put on your fic. I don't care who reblogs it. Michelle, she's gonna reblog it and she's gonna say something, and it's beautiful and it's great. And when we first really came up with that idea, I mean, Michelle is so great that you can't really. She's the perfect guinea pig because that's what really this test.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's truth to that because I remember the first time I tried to join a huge group call on Skype. I just couldn't call in and there were tech problems, and Michelle was a sweetheart that just kept trying to fix everything, and we had no idea who each other was. So I just had this random lady pop up on my screen, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm answering this now. So, yeah. Michelle is just the biggest sweetheart in the fandom, and the one that even if we mess everything up, she's not gonna blame us for it.
Heard that. You're the prettiest fan, like, for real, guys.
Rachel, okay, it's actually me who's supposed to say something.
Why do you think I was saying? Are you gonna do it? Because it's in the doc as you.
Yeah. Yeah, see, like I said, we're gonna mess stuff up. Michelle is our guinea pig, and so is the people watching. So we're so sorry. So Michelle, you are Mrs. Whoosy Watches. Maybe I said that right, and maybe I didn't. We will put the link in. We will put the link in the description at some point. How long have you been writing fan fiction for?
I have only been writing for about 2.5 years. I started in April 2015. I really started watching the show in December 2014 and watched 9.5 seasons in 3 weeks. And then I started reading fan fiction in January. And in April, I was like, you know what, I can do this too. And I wrote my first story in April.
That's actually pretty much the same time I started. I started in the beginning of April 2015.
I don't even remember when I first posted it. I'd have to look that up, actually.
Yeah, that's when I first posted. I think I have been writing a bit before that. Actually, I wrote fan fiction when I was 10 years old without even knowing what it was, because I loved the X-Files, and I just wrote an episode of the X-Files in a little notepad in Danish. So I actually wrote fan fiction way before I knew what it was. So
you started,
I guess it was my yeah, really early.
The first fan fiction I ever wrote was the first fiction I ever wrote.
Yeah, I have been writing fiction. I guess actually, I wrote, when I was little, I wrote stories about my life. So I guess that's or things that I wished happened.
Sorry.
What?
You're writing your own fan fiction.
Yeah. And and I had a few poems published in some Danish magazines and stuff, but it's not a. Yeah, I hid a lot of my stuff that I wrote up until the point that I started writing fan fiction in my 20s, and I started sharing a bit of it.
No, that when I was in high school, I wrote really, really, really angsty poetry, most of which I managed to successfully lose. Thank goodness, because it was really, really bad.
Yeah.
And my first thoughts about doing any kind of writing was more blog kind of things. You know, not fiction at all, really. You know, give me an idea and I can talk about anything, and it's the same with writing. Just ask me a question, I can just keep going. But it wasn't until Supernatural that I ever felt the need to add something to the story. You know, that I thought, you know what, there's a hole that's missing in this show.
I started when I was older and I knew what I was doing. I started writing some stuff for Guardians of the Galaxy and for Captain America and stuff at first, actually. Even though I have been watching Supernatural since it first aired. So I have been watching for 12 years. But and I have been wanting to add stuff to it, and I actually knew what fan fiction was. I was just so terrified of screwing up my favorite characters. So it took me a while before I got around to it.
You know, Supernatural was the first TV show that I ever looked for something else, or I looked for more, and I went, all right, I'm going online and I'm going to find something more. And really the whole reason why I did it, you know, that the show's producers are so stuck on making sure that Supernatural is not a soap opera, that, just this is my opinion only, I feel that they're, you know, kind of glossing over a whole part of that life that the boys, you know, could be experimenting with. You know, I mean, yes, there's been Lisa, yes, there's been Amelia, but they've never legitimately, you know, tried to give them any kind of a real romantic attachment that had a chance. It's always been something that was never going to work. And even if it doesn't work in the end.
I have also been around for long enough to know that there's a reason to that.
Yeah.
I know that people now say there's a general conception, oh, I loved you, I always loved you, which is a flat out lie for 90% of the people saying that they always did if they have been watching since the beginning. Because that was what got her written off. It was a horde of crazy women not wanting anyone near Dean. And it could work if people just...
Your food is too noisy, Rachel.
Oh, I rolled up my a ball of tinfoil, and now my cat's playing with it. So I was like, how loud is this going to be, Crunch?
And I think we've lost Kari. I think she's frozen.
Yeah, okay. Well, I will take over. Next question we have in the doc was, which fandoms do you / have you written for, and why these?
Just Supernatural, really. No other show has ever inspired me to look for fan fiction or read fan fiction. I mean, even now that, you know, I read it and I write it for Supernatural, you know, there's other shows that I watch. I watch Doctor Who. I watch, you know, Sherlock. I watch these other shows, but I've never had that urge to look into something more than what's on the TV until Supernatural. So it's really just SPN.
Okay, real talk. Is Doctor Who super, super hard to write for? Because I tried and I did not succeed very well. I tried to use it as an example on this is what fan fiction is, and I couldn't do it.
Well, I've never actually read or written any Doctor Who fan fiction.
I feel like it'd be really easy to do a reader insert with a companion or something, but it
for me, it's the whole alien future tech, spaceships and stuff like that I don't know how those things work, and I don't have that kind of imagination that could just come, you know, invent a machine to do something. Maybe that's one reason why Supernatural appeals to me so much, is that, you know, everything that they use is pretty much stuff that you can find at the grocery store or in your own pantry or whatever. It's you know.
Hey.
Salt, rosemary, and
I'm suffering wonky Wi-Fi today, so if I'm in and out, that's why.
Guys, can I talk about this burger though?
Please no. Ew.
What is ew? It's got cheese and onions and bacon.
I don't even know where we landed.
That looks so good, and I'm suddenly very hungry.
What did you guys talk about before I'm...
The fact that Doctor Who is impossible to write for.
Unless you're able to...
The fact that Doctor... What?
Unless you're able to invent, you know,
We went on to your...
the polarity and all that other fun stuff that they do, which I just don't have that kind of a brain. But, you know, what I was saying was, in Supernatural, everything they use you can find in your pantry or at the grocery store, or, you know, besides angel feathers and, you know, whatever. But yeah, you can find a newt somewhere and poke out its eye. That's something that I can imagine and I can do something with. But stick me on the TARDIS and I'd be like, oh my God, there's 14 bazillion buttons and I'm going to push the wrong one. I just know it. And I would approach writing fan fiction for Doctor Who the same way, you know.
There's a 9 million buttons I'm gonna push, and I'm gonna
push the wrong one. It's gonna be crap. It's gonna be simple. And
yeah, I kind of get that, because for the first time in I don't know how long, I started writing fan fiction that was for another fandom and not for real people. I have been writing for Chris Evans and stuff, but I tried writing fan fiction for Game of Thrones, and it's not that there are 9 million buttons I'm gonna push. There are just 9 million people, and I can't remember all the houses, and I can't remember all the places, and I'm just like, it's so much easier with 2 guys and an angel.
For real though.
Yeah.
The burgers from Cookout.
See, now for me, I'm Winchester sexual, including John and Henry, and Angel Curious. So there's Cass, and there's Gabe, and there's Balthazar, and there's so many. Now, you know, yeah, mostly I'm Sam and Dean, but that's everybody, I think. I mean, gosh,
No.
they're tall
No.
and good looking, and they.
No. Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm a Dean girl, and I'm swaying towards Cass, but I guess that's kind of more to do with Misha and his personality, and then it actually has to do with the angel. But Sam, as I write for him, but I find it so hard to write him in romantic situations. Garrett is a sweetheart and he's hot and everything, but it's like writing kissing my brother, and it's so hard. Yeah. I feel there's not a lot of love for Sam in fan fiction these days, so I try and write him as best as I can, but it's hard. It's really hard.
I keep forgetting to switch the camera to the person who's talking.
I was about to say,
that's because you got teeth fingers.
I'm seeing myself listening to somebody and nodding, and I'm like, wait.
I am distracted by burger and a cat trying to steal my burger. I don't see her flying at my desk trying to get up here. And I'm like, here, go play with your ball.
No, it doesn't smell like burger.
No, where did
Okay, so I guess we have been around other fandoms. So, Michelle, what do you think the stigma of fanfiction is? We talked a bit about it, but what do you think it is?
Oh, well, my personal opinion is that it probably has a lot to do with all the gay porn in fanfiction, which when I was first introduced to the idea of fan fiction, my first thought was, okay, it's not regulated at all. There's no editing, or there's no publishing process. There's no one to look at something and say, okay, there's a grammar error there, there's a spelling error there. And I thought, all right, this is just, you know, anybody putting out anything, and it could be crap, and ugh. And then the friend that kind of
basically a fictional Wikipedia. You can just write whatever you want. Yeah.
And the friend that kind of introduced me to the idea, she was writing a /fic for whatever fandom she was in, which I don't even know what fandom it is. And I started reading it just because she's an excellent writer, and had no idea what the heck was going on with it, but it was an excellent story anyway. And she was the one who actually encouraged me to write, because she was having writer's block in a major way. And I said, that's funny, because I've had this idea that's been cooking, but I've never written fiction before. And she goes, so write anyway. I said, it's probably going to be crap. She goes, yeah, well, crap makes good compost. Write it anyway. Maybe the first thing you write will be crap, but once you keep writing, it'll get better.
Have I heard that before? I love it.
So yeah, if it weren't for her, I would never have started writing at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a definite stigma that either it's all porn, or even worse, it's all porn written by people who don't know how to write, or porn written by people who don't know porn. And so it's, you know, it's generally, you know, the stigma is that because there's no market for it, you know, you can't buy it, you can't sell it, there's no monetary value put on it because you can't sell it. It's illegal to sell fan fiction. Then it's you know, I think a lot of people say, well, if you can't make money off of it, then what's the point? Why do it? And I say, why not? You know, it's something fun to do. It's a good place to practice.
I had the other day, I did one of these Tumblr questions thing where you reblog and you get people asking you questions. And Adriel sent me the question, what is art? And I said that she was trying to stump me, but art is actually very simple. Art is an emotional expression. It's whether you are acting or you are directing or you're writing or you're painting or whatever you are doing, it's an expression of your emotions at that point in time. And hopefully it can reach other people. Hopefully you're other people that feel the same way as you do, and getting to hear that hey, you're not alone. Hey, I am feeling like this too. And I think it sucks being on a period, or I think it sucks when I'm having a depression, or I wish that somebody would come and guide me out of an anxiety attack like this, or just, I think it sucks when somebody steals the last piece of pie. It can be the most simple little thing, or it can, yeah, everything is, I think that is what it is for me. It's writing how I'm feeling in a moment, or it's just writing an idea that won't leave my mind. And it's amazing getting people saying that they relate to that I'm not the only one who has a weird brain that thinks this when I hear that, or I'm not the only one who feels like this, or feels like everything just sucks, or everything is amazing at a given, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the value in it, and that's worth more than money. I'm not saying that I hope my book will flop and I will never sell any copies of it when I get around to that. But I actually think it's what people say to me is worth more than any amount of money that I could ever make off anything, which is also why I'm screaming off the top of my lungs for feedback on my blog all the time. Which I also think that we are getting into how to remove the stigma of fan fiction. I actually think that talking, not being afraid of what you're reading or what you're writing, is going to remove the stigma. Hey, I write this, and if people look at you weird, hey, they look at you weird. But then they are probably going to do that anyway for some other reason, because a lot of us who are writers are weirdos, and that's just the way it is. We're all a little special in our own way, and it's not just fan fiction writers. I have writer friends that doesn't write fan fiction, and it takes a special breed of people to sit in front of your computer and create a world, not only in your head, but actually create a world.
My husband.
So we are all a little.
My husband keeps embarrassing the heck out of me. For instance, at my dad's funeral recently, everybody was saying, so, you know, what are you doing now?
Can I just start by saying I love that sentence, Michelle?
What?
My husband embarrassed the hell out of me at a friend's funeral.
Yes, at my dad's funeral, and you know, I haven't seen one of my stepbrothers in like 20 years. And so, you know, some of these people were I just haven't seen them in a really long time. So what are you doing now? And well, you know, I'm not working. So it's like, oh, okay, so I'm not working. And my husband just pipes up and goes, oh, but she's been writing like 1 or 2 or 3 novels a year for the past couple years. And I just looked at him like, shut up. And they're like, really? Like, where can I go to read this? I'm like, okay, it's fan fiction, so you have to want to watch the show first to know what's going on. Oh, okay. And then but I did find out through that entire conversation that one of my cousins watches the show, and she goes, and I looked at her and I said, you watch Supernatural too? And she was like, yes. And I went, you're my favorite. I mean, she and I didn't have anything in common, but she's been looking at my pictures on Facebook and going, oh my God, she's beating them. And I was like, yes, and they're so nice, and they smell so good. Not that I know, because I never breathe when I have them. But, you know, for the whole time, everybody's like, oh, you've been writing. And I'm like, yeah, it's fan fiction. Everybody's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, okay,
I feel like a
oh,
lot of
yeah.
people say that writing fan fiction just doesn't count.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter that it's still putting words on a page. It just, oh, you're not doing original work, so it doesn't count. It's like it feels like people think that it doesn't take the same amount of planning and effort and editing, and it's just, oh, you sit down, you crap out some bad porn at 3 a.m. and then you post it, and you have weirdos getting off to it. Like no.
Yeah, it's the difference between, you know, Tiger Woods and going to the local putt-putt course and playing mini golf. And it's like, oh, yeah, it was just mini golf. Well, yeah, but, you know, it's still golf. I mean, true, it's not as big of a course. You're not doing, you know, huge drives or anything, but putt-putt's freaking hard, man. You still got to get around that stinking windmill. It's still hard. And
Yeah.
New favorite analogy.
There's one where you get paid money, and there's one where you pay money to do it.
I still haven't been able to get past a freaking windmill. So
That's hard, man.
Yeah.
I play putt-putt. Like I can't think of a time where I've ever played putt-putt. No.
Okay, I know a thing that I'm taking your family to do when you get to Denmark. They're playing putt-putt. And if you come during winter, you can get to do it on ice, which is super fun.
Oh, Lord, you guys play mini golf on ice?
No, but our courses freezes, so there's a layer of ice on top of it, and you can actually go and play during winter still. So, yeah, it just makes everything impossible. It's you can't shoot worse at crap, but it's fun.
I can't. I don't do well without the ice. Never mind. Tangent. Okay.
Okay, so I said talking about it would remove the stigma. How do you think we remove the stigma, Michelle?
Oh, I think the biggest thing that could happen would be if there was a fan fiction that was turned into a published work that made the bestseller list that had no smut in it. And then, you know, have everybody realize, yes, that was fan fiction. Because right now, to people who don't know what fan fiction is, when you mention fan fiction, the first thing they think of is 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
Which, you know, argue whether it's argue the merits of it. It's a trashy romance novel at its base, which I grew up on, so I have no problem with that. I grew up reading Harlequin romances, and I can tell you the plot of each and every one of them because they're all the same. My mother calls them mindless trash. And it didn't make anybody go, oh, fan fiction can be meaningful, or it can, you know, tug on the heartstrings, or it can have, you know, anything other than porn in it. So I think the fastest way would be if somebody transformed one of their stories that didn't have romance in it into a book, and it published and got the bestseller list. I think then.
Romance or smut?
Well,
because you can have one without the other.
Yeah, I think romance without the smut, maybe. I think it would be even better if it wasn't a romance too, because then a lot of people go, oh, well, it's just, you know, a cheesy romance novel, and that's not all that fan fiction is. I mean, yes, that's what a lot of it is, because we are romantic people and it's a part of our lives, and everybody likes to read romance novels because it gives you that surge in your brain of happy drug. And, you know, but I think if we're going to get fan fiction to be approved by people who are too serious to read romance novels, then it would have to be something that's not a romance novel.
The story that I'm writing right now, Killzone, on my blog, is in the process too of being turned into a blog, it's gonna take a hell of a lot of work because I have to change the point of view. I was stupid enough to write it in the second person, so I have to change everything to the third person, which is a lot of work. And the smut is gonna go. The scene is still gonna be there, but it's not gonna be written as smut as it is now. And there is an underlying romance in it, or it still drives the story, but it's a thriller more than it is a romance novel, actually. And I think that story is not gonna be a bestseller. It's the first thing that I'm gonna attempt to write and publish. But I actually think it's those kind of stories that I wish people would start transforming as a backbone that's not necessarily driven by the romance. A story where you could take the romance out and it would change the story. It would change Killzone drastically. Because, spoiler alert, right now the reader or the OC that's going to be in it got kidnapped, and she wouldn't be if the romance story wasn't in it. But I could still have written the same story and of his ex-girlfriends or something like that to be the one that everyone was going to save. I just chose not to because I, like you said, I like writing romance stories. But I also like a million other genres. So I like putting everything into it, and I don't think that it has to fit one genre. Anyway. Which is also the way I approach series and my one-shots and stuff. I don't really like calling them angst or fluff or smut or whatever, because I like to stuff everything in there. Yep. And I don't think there's any good angst if you don't have a decent amount of fluff in it, because if you're just writing everything sad, then there's nothing worth losing. You have to build something up that makes your heart shatter when you lose it. So I don't think that you can write angst without writing smut. Fluff.
Do
Yep.
we want to move on to some of the questions that we got sent?
What was that?
That's your turn. That's your turn, Martha.
I'm sorry, Rach, you sound like you're talking to me through a water. What did you say?
Do we want to move into some of the questions?
Yes, we want to move into the questions that are under that you have to ask now.
Yeah. I've been sitting here quietly. I've been good.
Yeah. No, you don't have to be quiet. She's
been chasing the ball, and it's kind of funny. And I'd like to mention that I did take her collar off so she wouldn't be jingling in the background. I had the forethought to take it because she would be just jingling, like it'd sound like Christmas up in here.
That you should keep that on for the December 10th we are doing.
Yeah.
Jingle bells, jingle bells.
Alrighty. So our first question is from Roxy Spearing. She said, "Hi, this is for your writer's room about stigma fan fiction. Would you say that it's easier or harder to write fan fiction for something that has a much larger audience than something with a smaller following?"
I've only ever written for Supernatural, so I can't answer that.
Okay, Kari, you want to try? I think Kari froze again.
No, I think she did too.
I'm going to take it off because that's a funny looking face that she's making. On second thought, I kind of want to screenshot it real quick. Let me see if I can get a tiny while I get blackmail material, guys. There we go. Sorry. Good. Same. I've only written, the only thing I've really written for is Supernatural really seriously. I had some experience with some Harry Potter stuff back in the day, and that went less than well because, yikes, we're not even going to talk about that. Long story.
I always thought that writing for a smaller fandom would be more freeing, but on the same note, if there's only 100 people in that fandom, then all 100 people are going to find your fic because there's only 5 people writing. And then if you do something wrong, all those 100 people are going to call you and be like, hey, you did this wrong and that wrong and that wrong. I've always thought that, but I don't know if that's the truth or if because there's only 100 people in that fandom, they're more supportive. I don't know.
Oh, we lost Kari entirely. Okay.
Or is it the other way? Looks like in the chat, Lydia said writing for a larger fandom is more rewarding for sure, but you're open to criticism. So, you know, I was thinking it would be the opposite way, that the smaller the fandom, the more criticism you'd get, because you'd be more family, and sometimes family can really annoy you.
Family can kick your butt. Let's just say it. Family can kick your butt.
Bookworm says it depends on the fandom. Every fandom is different.
And that's Sarah.
But I guess I can believe that.
Sarah has been texting me this entire time. So she's a brat. What's our next questions? I think, she had another question. Does anyone in your personal life know about you writing fan fiction, and how did they react?
My husband loves that I'm doing something that I love.
Oh, that's good.
And he doesn't care what it is, as long as I'm happy doing it. And I've already told you, he likes to go around and tell everybody that I write novels. And I look at him and I go, shut up. Because then they want to know where it is on Amazon, and it's not on Amazon. And then they're like, oh, it's on Tumblr. I actually had a friend of mine go, isn't that the porn site? And I was like, no, Tumblr is not a porn site. And then later on I went, oh, I found the porn on Tumblr. Yeah, Tumblr has some porn. Never mind.
Tumblr has some porn. Tumblr has some porn.
My mother wants
Tumblr has a lot of annoying porn blogs that actually likes taking the gifs that people from fandoms make, porn to it.
Ugh.
So a lot of people in fandoms on Tumblr hates the porn blogs.
Yeah, I can
with
see
a passion.
And then when I told my mom, my mom just wanted to know why I wasn't writing something that I could make money off of. You know, if I'm going to be putting all this work into something, why is it something that I can't sell? My best friend thinks that fandom in general is crazy and insane. She is an Eagles fan and a Phillies fan, and haven't had the chance to say, you know, I'm as crazy about my TV show as you are about your sports teams. But we've kind of decided that I won't talk sports and she won't talk supernatural, and I'll put up with her when she talks sports and she'll put up with me when I talk supernatural, and we go our separate ways. But yeah. She won't say anything bad about me writing, because, you know, she's my best friend and she'll support me no matter what I do. But you can tell when I talk about it, and that she just, the eyes glaze over, and she just kind of looks at me like, and that's it. So people know that I write it, but they don't want to talk about it. What about you, Rach?
And just do it anyway, because yeah, I don't think that I necessarily tell people that I write fan fiction, but if people ask me what my hobbies are, I'm not scared of saying that I do write fan fiction, and as one of the things that I write, and it's the thing I write mostly at the moment. It doesn't really bother me, and I can tell too that some people think that I'm crazy, and I'm just like, well, then they think that I'm crazy. It doesn't take away from what I'm doing, and it doesn't take away from the people that are enjoying what I write. And if they want to judge without reading a single word that I have written, then it's on them. It's not on me.
But have you had anybody ask to read anything?
I have had a few friends that have asked to read something, and I also had a friend that asked to read Rachel's things and Aaron's things, and yeah, she's not on Tumblr, but I give her links to stuff that I would like, and I have friends that write, and she likes sending them asks once in a while when she can figure out how to use Tumblr enough to send
story time. Okay, so in this vein, do you want to tell Kari who else has read your/my stuff?
My mom has. But my mom has also read what I have written.
I did not consent to you sending your mom my smut.
I have to admit, when I had to tell my best friend, she was like, oh, maybe I should read it. I went, well, you should be aware it's smut. And she was like, oh,
Kari froze.
I don't want to read smut you've written, you know, because
Kari froze another funny position, so I'm screenshotting.
it's kind of like on Tumblr, we're the kind of people where it's your birthday, so I'm going to write porn for you. But if it's my best friend's birthday, I'm not going to write porn for her because she would look at me like, I don't want to know that this is what you're into, Michelle. And I don't want to know that you think that this is something I'm into. And why would you give this to me? I can just hear her right now. Why would you give this to me? I don't understand. And so yeah, no. But you know, my Tumblr friends, my fan fiction friends, we write porn for each other, and I think that's awesome. And it opens up conversations about things. All right, I'm gonna mention this. Everybody can see it.
Hey, there's our book.
If anybody has not read this and you're in the supernatural fandom and you're a fangirl, you should read this. I'm only about halfway through. But
Last time we talked, which was yesterday.
Lynn and Kathy talk about how they got into the fandom and how they got into being a fangirl. And they talk about the fact that they write fan fiction and about the stigma around fandom in general and everything. And one of the things that they mention is that online with fan fiction seems to be one way for women to talk to each other about sex. You know, things that maybe they couldn't talk about in person or with their best friend, they can talk about online, and they can share a fic. Like, have you read this fic? This is so hot. Yes, it's two guys going at it, but they're hot guys, and what are they doing? And maybe that's something I should try with my husband, or, you know, whatever. It opens up a conversation. And I recently had a very detailed, very intimate conversation with a friend of mine, and she looked at me at one point and she goes, because we were having a very serious conversation about her boyfriends, because she is suddenly single after having been in a relationship that was basically non-sexual for about 10 years. Oh, wow. And so she's suddenly single and has these boyfriends, and she's like, I'm just looking for sex. I'm at that age where that's all I want. I don't want a relationship anymore, because she's in her 50s. She's like, I don't want a relationship anymore. I just want to have sex. That's all. And we were talking about all kinds of things, and, you know, gynecologist visits and stuff like that. And she goes, you know, you are the only person that I've ever been able to talk about this with. Mm-hmm. Without them going, ew, why are we having this conversation, changing the subject? And honestly, I think it's because I've had conversations like this with my Tumblr friends who also write fan fiction, and we can talk about all kinds of things. And if we're not talking about it directly, we're writing about it. And we're making Sam and Dean have to confront this. And, oh my God, she's got her period. Ugh. Oh my God, I'm surprised I haven't read a fic yet where you know, Dean had to go out and buy yeast infection medicine for his girlfriend, because, you know, how embarrassing would that be?
I expect it on my dash by Monday. I'll give you until Wednesday. Just I know you're busy.
I've got like 14 other fics in line first.
Heard that. I have a paper I should.
That's what I'm dealing with all the time. If I say I should write something like that, I expect that by next week. Yeah, you can expect all you want, but it's not gonna happen.
But I really do think that, you know, it's opening up a conversation with friends and getting women to be more open about what they want. Because, you know, if you go out in the grocery store and talk about, you know, what you're looking for, people are going to look at you. Now, a man can do the same thing. And, oh, well, he's a man. You know, like, men are perfectly allowed to say that they want to have sex with two twin girls. But we aren't allowed to say that, you know, we want to have sex with twin boys. Why not? But on Tumblr and fan fiction, we can. Or we can say we would like to watch Dean have sex with twin boys. Whatever, you know, and nobody cares. It's all allowed. And I think that's great. But anybody outside of it, can look at it.
I also think it makes for a special kind of friendship. It makes for special kinds of friendships. You can have known a person for 2 months, and you can speak to them about something that you can't speak to something you have known about something you with a person you have known for 10 years about. And I think it's because we are so accustomed to putting our words on paper, and we know that these people do that too. So there's a that you kind of just skip pretty instantly. Especially with Rachel, we haven't been friends for that long when I started helping you do very weird stuff. I helped Rachel shop because Ori didn't take Rachel shopping, so I helped Rachel shop online.
And not the second one.
Yeah, no, because you said that I would just help you wrong. And what happened, Rachel?
I'm just gonna eat it. Guys, do you want? I still have more food.
You're making me so hungry.
I haven't today, and this is literally all I'm gonna eat today. I'm not gonna eat anything else.
I'm supposed to be on a diet.
Oh, I am too, and I'm cheating today. It's okay.
Yeah, I was just about Rachel has been talking about what healthy foods she has been eating for a month, and the first thing she does is stick a very greasy burger into the screen.
Hey, I have been very good lately. I've been very good.
I don't believe you, Rachel. You just eat crap when I don't see it.
Do I have to really start sending you pictures of my meals?
No.
Okay.
How far did we go? No, actually, before I disappeared the first time, you asked me if I thought there was any difference to writing for a larger fandom than a smaller.
Yo, we're gonna be here for.
I don't think that necessarily is for a number. But I think I think that the Supernatural fandom is fairly wordy, even though we say that we don't get a lot of feedback. I get the most feedback when I write for the Supernatural fandom, and it's not that I don't get notes on the Game of Thrones things that I write or the have written, but I don't get the same amount of notes than I do.
Kari, are you having problems? Kari's having problems.
Yeah, we lost her.
We lost her. Okay. We're only allowed to stream for 8 hours, and we've already hit 1. So we're gonna have to speed us up a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So our next question is gonna be, if I can find it. So it's from Aaron, who's in the chat. Why do you think authors view, or at least are perceived to view, fan fiction in a negative light? I feel like we touched on this a little bit.
Yeah, I think we already did. Pretty much just, you can't make money off of it. It's not published. It's not, what's the word I'm looking for? Not regulated. Regulated isn't quite the word I mean, but, you know, there's no standard for it. I mean, what standards that you might come up with are all what we came up with. It's, you know, we're the ones who decide what's standard for what. But yeah, I think other than that, we've all pretty much touched on that.
Oh, also, people, this is Wilma. She's my baby. And she's been running around and distracting me, so I feel like I should have. Say hi.
I just saw someone comment, that's because the SPN family owns the internet. Yes, we do.
Yes, kitty. Oh, okay. Are you leaving, or are you? Okay. So we touched on that. Where's our next question? This one's from Rainy Days Are Never Gray. Why do fanfics get such a bad rep? I've been told I'm not a real writer, even though I only write about 40% fan fiction. I think we also talked on this a lot. That I mean, it doesn't, fan fiction doesn't count. It's not real, which is stupid as all get out, because it doesn't matter if it's 80 pages of fan fiction or 80 pages of fan fiction that I'm working on converting to a book. It's still writing. It's still words that are on a page in ink. If you put words on a page, there you go. You're a writer. Yippee hooray.
Yep.
But I don't. I feel like that's something that does need to change. I don't know if it's going to change quickly. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I feel like there is kind of that start. And say what you want about 50 Shades. Yes, I don't like it. It's awful in my opinion. I just like, contrary to what my mom says, yes, I have read it, Mom. I hope she never sees this. But yeah,
here's the question though: have you read just 50 Shades, or did you read all three?
I couldn't get through all three of them.
But at what point did you stop?
I think I stopped at the end of the first one.
See, this is the problem that I have with so many people who say they didn't like 50 Shades of Grey. They stopped after the first one.
I might have gotten into the second one, but I didn't get very far.
In my opinion, the series doesn't start getting good until like a third of the way into the second one.
Okay, see, I didn't get that.
Out of the three books, the first one I think is the worst. The second one's my favorite, and the third one is second in that, because it basically just ties things together. And there's a few points in the third one where I'm like, all right, yeah, they're having sex again. All right, Paige. Yeah, they're having sex again. All right, Paige. But in my opinion, the second book is the best of the three. And I believe, and I'm curious to find out, everyone who says that it's such a horrible book, I'm curious to find out, did they read all three? Are they talking about all three, or are they just talking about the first one?
See, I just couldn't get past it, because I just did not like the writing. Like, not even, because I can handle the smut. I can handle the porn.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get past the actual writing. Like, I didn't like characters. I didn't like her stuff. It wasn't my preference. Like, I wasn't a fan. But I just want to point out, we just got a question in the chat. If characters from fan fiction were switched with original characters, do you think the fiction you've written would be more widely accepted? I think I'm a wholeheartedly believe of that.
Probably.
Yes, they will.
Like,
they will.
The name, and that's all you got to do, really.
Yeah,
and that's basically what I'm doing with Killzone right now, is just changing their names and changing the point of view. And how much greasy food do you have, Rachel? Okay, but that's what I'm doing right now, and I have actually tried this. I have been telling people that I am writing a fan fiction that I'm converting into a book, and I still get the crazy look. And if I'm just telling people that I'm writing a book, and I tell them the plot the same way that I just told them the plot as a fan fiction, I get a totally different response. Then all of a sudden, it's cool that I'm sitting home hours on end and writing, because it's a book, because it's original characters. It's not because I'm calling them Dean and Sam, and it's still my own universe. It's not like I stole their universe and are selling it as my book. That's not what I'm doing. I borrow the characters to get people. Pretty much, I'm sharing it with people, and Dean just fit the character I had in my head, so I'm calling him Dean for now, which is also a huge problem when you have to change his name, because Dean Winchester is not an easy character to rename. But yeah.
Okay, so our next question. I will fully admit I did not do my homework. This is the first time in a week that I've opened up our doc about the show. I've been busy, guys. It's been a week. And this one's from Anna, who is Percy Winchester. Anna, what's your URL?
Percy Winchester, 27, sweetheart. But yes, it is from Percy Jackson, and it is from Supernatural. And 27 is her birthday, I learned after sending her clowns for a month.
Wait, so when's her birthday?
27 of October, so soon. You on YouTube and suck it, Anna.
I want to ask Saint Michelle, that's her words, not mine, her words. I want to ask Saint Michelle her opinion on how fair it is for authors/show creators to be completely entitled of their characters. We know that some creators, and one author specifically, has people punished for writing fan fiction about their characters. Is that how stigma originated? Authors bad-mouthing about fic writers?
I don't know how it originated, and if there's anybody who's been writing fan fiction longer than I have that knows, I would love to hear about it. I would think that might be a possibility, though. I've only recently heard about that one particular author who decided to rather maliciously go after anybody who wrote fan fiction based on her books.
Maliciously and legally.
Yeah. And from what I understand, kind of mobilized her Twitter following against people as well.
Which might be affecting us even now, because even subconsciously.
Yeah, maybe. And I don't know when that all happened. I don't know if that was, back
She's not the only one, though. To take a big author right now, the author behind Game of Thrones, the books, D.R.R. Martin, he doesn't want you writing fan fiction on his characters. I completely ignore him and do it anyway. But he says fan fiction in quotes, and he bad-mouths it, and he says it's theft, and you're stealing his characters, you're stealing his universe, and you're gaining attention, and he is saying that he's protecting his livelihood by doing it.
We're not trying to steal it.
So he's far from the only writer who does that.
Okay, I can imagine. All right, well, I grew up as an only child, so I can understand the whole "these are my toys and you can't play with them" mentality, because I've had my toys and told people they couldn't play with them. And I think that somebody who writes a novel like Martin, or the other writer that I think everybody knows about now, I think that they might have a different opinion about it than a bunch of people who write on TV shows, because TV writers write as part of a collective. So nothing that they write is ever truly their own, because even though we say that, for example, Robbie Thompson wrote Baby, but he isn't the only one who sat down and had something to add to Baby. Baby had to fit into the general story arc of the season, and they had to fit things into Baby to make Baby relative to what's going on with the boys at that time. And so, and if you look at, there's some episodes where, it's basically a Monster of the Week episode, but in the beginning or the end, there's a throwaway line where, oh, Cass is off doing this, and all right, well, we spent this week doing this, and now we get to go back to doing what we're supposed to be doing, which is, do whatever the big season arc is. So no one episode is ever truly written in a bubble when you're writing on a TV show. And I think that because of that, TV writers might be less likely to attack fan fiction writers. Whereas when you write
going off that, you should think that a guy like D.R. Martin had a better understanding of it, since he's working with writers that are converting his books into a TV show.
Right, but he created that world all by himself to start with.
I know, but he's still letting go in some extent, which he just refuses to do completely. And there's also, then there are authors like J.K. Rowling, who says that she finds it flattering and she wishes she had time to sit down and read every single fanfiction that's sent to her. And she does read some of them, and she has commented on directly on some fanfiction in interviews once in a while, so she does read them. when it's time to. Yeah. So that's a big difference in mentality, but I will say I have an idea for an original story arc that's gonna be 3 books and that has nothing to do with fan fiction. And sitting down and starting to create that, I kind of get these are my characters, and it's not that I don't want people to play with them. It's not that I am afraid that people can do better than me, which I actually sometimes think that it is for authors as well. I think it's a fear that an amateur comes out and tells the story better than you could. I think I started out by saying that it took me a long time to write for Supernatural because I was afraid to mess Dean Winchester up or mess Sam up or Castiel. And that's kind of the way that I'm thinking when I'm starting to write my own book. I don't want people to mess up my characters.
I'm going to kill them all.
I think also it's possible that they might be thinking, why would you want to read their original stuff that you have to pay money for when fan fiction's free?
That's true. That's true.
So, you know, if they can't, why would we buy books if we can get stories based on the same characters for free?
True. I haven't thought about that one.
So I can understand that as well.
I can understand the fear, but I don't understand the attacking.
I don't think that what I've heard Anne Rice has done is right at all.
No.
I think that, you know, as soon as you start doxing people, then send the lawyers, but don't send your Twitter following. I have a problem with anybody who uses their Twitter following to attack somebody.
Yeah.
Who has, you know, done something that is perfectly legal.
Well, me and my
illegal, that's a different world, and then it's more shades of gray. But as long as someone's not hurting anybody else, why are you hurting them? I
5 Twitter followers are gonna raise an army, and we're gonna take over.
Okay.
All right, so we're moving on to our next, and we lost Kari again.
Ah.
So I'm just gonna keep trucking on through. Okay, I'm starting to think she ducks out whenever we're trying to do transitions, because I keep transitioning and she keeps leaving, and I was like, fine then. All right, so we asked you to bring us some of your fics, and you did. Bless you. You brought us a big list. We just picked out a couple. I'll be honest, like father, like son, I haven't read it yet. I was gonna try, and you know, life happens.
Yeah.
Life happens when you're in college and you have a job.
And I am a wordy bitch.
True. So on that one, I think Kari actually read this one. What? Okay, how about we come back? I think Kari did read that one, or at least part of it. And I read Non-Trad, which is one of my favorite fics in the realm of glory. It's one of my favorites. Like, it has stuck out. I love it so much. So we had a couple questions. Okay, first one. What is up with you and your love for writing poly?
Oh,
I just say, I'm just going to interrupt to scold Rachel. I'm not ducking out every time there's a transition. I saw it on my phone.
I love you.
Careful what you're saying, because every time I lose my Wi-Fi, I use my phone to watch you.
Every time you lose your Wi-Fi and you freeze in a weird position, I take a screenshot.
I hate you. Okay, moving on.
Okay, moving on. Poly relationships. Why?
I do have a love of writing poly, and I think it's because I'm greedy and I want them all. I think that's really what it comes down to. And so what I'm trying to do is figure out how can I have them all at the same time. And so, you know, as soon as the idea of a polyamorous relationship, you know, was introduced to me, I was like, that could work. Let's make them all do that. That's really what it comes down to, is I want them all the time. And this is how I figure out how to do that.
All righty, that wraps up that one. What else did I have? Okay. So in non-trad, if for those of you who don't read it, which you should, even if you haven't, okay, but you have priest Cass.
Yes.
Is that, this is really genuinely curious, does that have anything to do with Cass being the angel, or is it just plot?
Actually, priest Cass was not my idea. Ice Cream and Drill wrote a priest Cass series, and hers is a huge smut fest. Oh my God! I mean, the reader and priest Cass are getting it on from like the third sentence in hers. And while I enjoyed hers, I grew up with Harlequin romances, like I said, and I just kept thinking, you know, shouldn't there be more angst? If a priest is going to break his vows, there should be more angst to it. And that's where it started to settle in my mind, because I never thought I'd ever write an AU. I try to be very canon compliant where I can. And so when I said to her at one point, I said, do you mind if I, you know, write my own version? And she's like, sure, go ahead. And so the idea of Cass as a priest just came from her version of Cass as a priest. Now, whether that was her intention, I'm not sure. It's possible. We'd have to ask her. I can see it, though.
Like, because I was just thinking priest Cass, and then you have angel Cass. I mean, they're two sides of the same coin. Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. And last thing. Last thing about non-trad. Can we talk about your tag? Can we talk about the tag erotic pastries?
The erotic pastries?
That's
well, in that fic, Cass's brother, Gabriel, has an erotic bakery where he makes only erotic cakes and candies. So
is that a thing, though?
I don't know.
Is that really a thing?
I don't know. I know that there are bakeries that make, you know, erotic cakes for bachelorette parties and bachelor parties and stuff like that. So I don't know if there's anybody who actually only makes erotic things. I just thought if anybody were going to, it would be Gabe. It takes sweets and his whole, you know, playful personality and put it together, and it just works.
Why tag it that?
What was that?
Well, why put it in the tags?
Well, you know, just in case somebody is offended by that. You know, if somebody's offended by chocolate covered bananas or lollipops in the shape of dicks or, you know, anything like that, there's that in there. There's so much in there. There's cannolis, you know, and other phallic desserts, plenty of phallic desserts. So, you know, I felt
I have to admit, I haven't read that one yet, but after hearing you talk about all the exotic pastries, I kind of need to.
I mean, you need to read it because it's good.
Oh, sorry. No, I have company.
Also, erotic pastries.
But also erotic pastries.
Yes. So, you know, there's a priest breaking his vows. There's all kinds of religious issues that somebody might have with that fic. And then there's, you know, the lollipops in the shape of penises. But, you know, hey.
And then there's me, who's the least religious person you're going to find, so we'll have absolutely no problem with any of it.
All right. This is Junior, by the way, and if I'm talking, he thinks I should be talking to him. And he wants to know why I'm not.
See, now, Kari,
As you should be.
Where's Santo now, Kari?
He's with Mom.
I feel like I knew that.
Hmm?
I think that I knew that.
You're a hot cat. Yes, you are. You're a hot cat.
You knew that.
That.
Because you knew that.
All right. I need to put you down now.
He's like, no.
Go find Tessa.
Okay, what's that?
And speaking of mom having read my fan fiction, she's also the kind of mom that read my cash angst and rolled up a paper and hit me with it because I was mean to the angel.
Guys, I love her mom. I haven't even met her.
Or read my Dean smut over my shoulder and said, without me knowing she was there, and I just said, yeah, and now that for John. Go away.
Your mom is one of my favorite people.
My mom is weird.
I've never actually, I don't think I've ever
Where do you think I got the weird from?
Did she never accept my Facebook request? She never accepted my Facebook request. Come on, Molly. I'm checking, guys, I'm checking this. Why did she never? Come on. Did we lose Kari?
Yeah, probably.
Guys, I am like, where?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to talk about weird tags, then there's also the tag for nesting that made everybody crack up with, which was, you know, buying something at Bed Bath & Beyond without using a 20% off coupon. I got a few comments about that. Because why would anybody do that? That's...
I sent her mom a friend request and she never answered.
Yeah.
Fine then. Well, Kari left when she's supposed to talk about like father like son now.
We lost her again.
Okay, here's one that she just stuck in the doc. Why a fic instead of an original work for NaNoWriMo? And will you just kind of touch on what NaNoWriMo is for a second?
Oh, NaNoWriMo is actually coming up soon. It's National Novel Writing Month, and it's every November. And it's something that anybody can do. If you're a writer, if you write, you're a writer, and you can do it. NaNoWriMo has a website, so you can go to, I think it's nanowrimo.org or something like that. So you can go and you can read all about it. And it's something where you are responsible for entering in your word totals every day, and then it will track it. And then, you know, if you hit 50,000 by the end of the month, yay, you won. And the first time that I heard about it was the writer friend who got me into writing, and she was talking about working NaNoWriMo and not making her word count for the day. And I thought, oh, it's just for, you know, writers. It's for serious writers. It's for people who are writing novels, and it wasn't for fan fiction. And then actually it was Osric Chow at ShyCon 15. He said that he was going to do it. And he said, he was one of the first people that I heard say, if you are writing, if you're sitting down and you're writing, then you are a writer. And the NaNoWriMo is for you. And he's the one who inspired me to do it. Now, the reason why I did fan fiction instead of an original fic is because I haven't written any original fiction yet. And I can't imagine coming up with 50,000 words of something original just yet. I'm constantly surprised when I can make 50,000 words out of fan fiction, which, if anybody who's looked at my AO3 list, then you realize that's kind of ridiculous, because I am a wordy bitch and I can make 50,000 words out of nothing. But I went with fanfic just because it's allowed. There's nothing that says I can't do fan fiction, and it's what I do. That's how I express myself. So rather than trying to add yet another stressor on to because what it comes out to is 1,667 words per day, which is a lot if you think about it. That's a lot to do every single day for 30 days.
What was the number again?
1,667 words per day adds up to about 50,000 words at the end of a month. And that's the goal, is to hit 50,000 words. And if you go on the website and you sign up, there are badges that you earn as you go on, you know, for writing, you know, so many days in a row. You get badges for writing so many days in a row. You get a badge for, you know, how many words you've written total. So I averaged it out because to me, a goal of 50,000 words in 30 days seemed like a lot, but 1,600 words per day, that I can do. And then, you know, if I do 1,200 today, then all right, yes, I have to do 2,000 tomorrow, but that's still something I can do. Yeah. And it's less than looking at 50,000 for a whole month. That seems like too much. But when I did NaNoWriMo the first time, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did it again last year. I haven't finished that fic yet, which is why it hasn't been published yet. It's still got about 15,000 words to go at least. I might finish it for NaNoWriMo this year, though it won't count. But yeah, it's just, so it's a good thing to do, but for me, I have to make sure that I have nothing else going on that month. And yeah, it's Thanksgiving. You know, it's always in November, so there's Thanksgiving involved, which is, you know, it's a good time to catch up if you got a few days off work and that kind of thing.
I don't have time to catch. My Thanksgiving is way too hectic. We have like an insane amount of people come to my house, and things get even more hectic when Thanksgiving instead of actually being a break.
Yeah.
As a student, as a working student, I can barely keep up with just writing in general, much less trying to do X amount of words a day, X amount a month, and I'm just kind of like, not for me.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do if you've got the time and you've got the energy. If all you're missing is the motivation, then it's a great thing to do. If what you're missing is the time, maybe not such a good thing to do because it'll just stress you out.
Yeah, I'm stressed enough as is. Thank you very much.
But I really enjoyed being able to go up to Osric the next year and say, you know, you inspired me to do this, and I just wanted to thank you for that. And he said, and I said, and I did it. And he goes, and I said, and I won. And he goes, that's awesome. And he high-fived me. And so he loved, you know, inspiring people to do it too. But I think it's a great thing to do if you've got the time. If you don't, it's perfectly understandable. But and I know a lot of people who do it just to get that motivation to sit down and write anything, even though they know they won't be able to hit 50,000 words in a month. Yeah. So I know a lot of people will do that just to say they sat down and did it, even if they didn't win.
Yeah. Totally. What else was part of that?
Kari's trying to join again.
Okay, so what with like father, what like son? What was the inspiration behind that one?
Honestly, I love John, and I know that's an unpopular opinion, but I love John. He's not Father of the Year, but I think he did the best that he could under the circumstances. And I think that there's a lot of decisions that he made based on knowledge that he had, because he was an extremely smart man. Even Ash, you know, looked at what Dean and Sam brought to him after John died and said, nobody can track a demon like this on paper. And Sam looked at him and said, our dad could. So, you know, I thoroughly believe that John knew that something was after Sam from the moment Mary died. And I think he realized that Sam needed to be protected. And, but I don't think that everybody else thinks that or agrees with that or knows that. So my original inspiration was to kind of defend John, you know, let people see that, you know, I think he knew and he did what he had to do. And, you know, the reason why he had to raise Dean the way he did was because he knew he would not always be there to protect Sam. So Dean would have to be there to protect Sam. So it's kind of my way of, you know, enforcing that, yes, this is something that he knew. And so that's why I ended up writing it the way I did.
I go very much back and forth on John. Well, not Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I love Jeffrey Dean Morgan, but But the character, I go very much back and forth with whether I like him or not. And I think it has to do with being a Dean girl, because he really did a number on him. And 90% of the issues that Dean has today is due to his father. And I know that Mary started it all, and I love that we went away from the Saint Mary thing that has been going on for 11 years when she actually came back, that we got to see that she's flawed and she's not one that you should get to that you should get to that ship time. but to the what he knew, I actually, after in about mid season 4, end season 4, I started thinking that the thing that Dion said to Dean, that if you can't save him, you have to kill him. He was so insanely smart. So who's to say that he didn't knew that his sons were actually vessels? Who's to say that he didn't figure that out? And that was what he meant, that he would have to kill his brother as Lucifer. I don't think that he ever meant that he would have to kill him before Sam turning into anything or over demon blood or whatever. I think I think it was so engraved in John to protect Sam that he also beat it into his son. So why in the hell would he do a 180 in the last minute and say that you can't save him, so you have to kill him? Or maybe you can't save him, you have to kill him.
Right.
I think there was more to that than just Sam turning bad, because I don't think that he believed that.
Nope, we lost Rach. I apologize if you hear them meowing in the background. Sully has decided that now she wants treats too.
I'm here. My phone was like 10%. It needs to charge.
Okay.
Oh, and he's in your bed.
I think what we have established from that is we need to talk faster next time, because we intended it to be an hour and it's close to 2.
Only halfway done.
All right, the next question.
What is the next question?
Next question is from Dean Sweetheart 23. Okay. Wait. She just asked what inspired like father, like son.
Oh, already been there.
Been there. Dean Sweetheart 23. Been there. Done that. Got that t-shirt. Alrighty. From the Violet Hour with 2 R's, or the hour. Says, hey, my question for the Violet Hour. Violet Hour.
The Violet Pirate.
Okay, my question for the writer's room would be, what was her first ever fanfic she published, and if she remembers it, and what inspired you to post it?
My first fic ever was Cracker Jack Prize. It's still out there on my master list. It's still on my AO3. So if you're looking for it, it's there. I sat down and went, all right, I'm going to write about maybe 3,000 words, and 87,000 words later, I was done. So what inspired it was part of that whole, well, I've been reading other people's fics, and I didn't necessarily agree with their characterization of Dean and Sam and everything. And I thought I can do it better. And I was wrong, but you know, my first fic, so there you go.
Tell them, Michelle. You tell them.
I was wrong. I couldn't do it better, but that's also my first polyfic. So yet again, I'm greedy and I want them all.
No judgment.
And actually, there's a scene about 3/4 of the way into it, which was the original scene that inspired me to write the whole thing. I wasn't going to post it until
3/4 in was the scene that yeah, I love how word you are. That 3/4 in, I finally got to the scene.
Yes. It inspired the whole gosh darn thing. And oddly enough, it's a jealous Dean scene. He was very jealous, and she overhears him. So anyway. So it became, you know, my first polyfic, and I finally decided to post it. I asked somebody to read it, and they were like, oh yeah, it's wonderful, it's great. I'm like, okay, all right, then I'm just gonna post it, and you know, if people like it, they'll like it, and if they don't, they don't, and that was it. And some people have liked it, and some people still like it, and I thought, well, you know, even if it's crap, like I said, crap makes good compost.
Rach, do you have an eye on the live stream, or are we just the questions
From the chat?
Hmm.
You mean from the chat or from the doc?
From the chat.
It's acting funny. I'm trying to.
Yeah, mine is acting out too. I gave up trying to get it to do anything.
Let me refresh it. I've been keeping an eye on it. I haven't seen any questions.
Okay.
But I can double check on that if you want to check the doc for whatever's next.
I did see, okay, Lizzie mentioned Sam was the reason Mary died in John's eyes, so I think he thought if Sam dies, then it's all for nothing. I agree.
Yeah. I have a question from Little Green Plastic Soldier. It says, this one is for Michelle. Do you believe in writer's block? How do you overcome the things that kick the mojo out of your writing groove? Also, do you have any idea how amazing generous you are?
Aw, I love her.
Yeah.
I love how she writes too. Oh my God, if you're not reading her, you need to read her. Her writing style is fantastic. Writer's block. That's a tough one. I've been kind of going through that lately. Real life tends to suck the desire to write out of me. Because if I'm busy doing other things, then by the time I get to my computer, it's just like, oh, I'm just going to read for a while, and then I'm going to go to bed, and that's it. The way to get past it is, for me, rest, clear out whatever's going on in my life for a while, and then usually just watch the show. You know, go back to your canon, and something will hit me while I'm watching the show, usually. I haven't had true writer's block where I sit in front of a blank page and don't even know where to start in a while. I've got an entire page worth of ideas that I have of things that I'm going to write at some point. And there's some of them I don't even know what the idea was anymore, because whatever I wrote down doesn't make any sense. I've got one that says Sam and Adam in the cage. I have no idea what my idea was, but Sam and Adam in the cage surviving Michael and Lucifer, and I don't know what I meant to write, but someday I'll remember, and then maybe I'll write it. But yeah, Sam and Adam in the cage, someday maybe it'll hit me what I meant by that. But yeah, I've got about a dozen ideas of things that I want to write that are just little notes like that, so that even if I have the urge to write but I don't know what to write, that's always there for me. Maybe someday Sam and Adam in the cage will come out. I don't know.
Yeah, I have a really long doc too of ideas. So it's not the lack of ideas that is my problem, because I literally can't go a day without 2-3 ideas popping into my head. I can't have a conversation with Rachel without 2-3 ideas popping into my head.
I have an entire folder.
But she's also walking fan fiction. I have never met a person that does weirder crap all the time. And you can write a fanfic about the life of Rachel and just insert Sam and Dean.
If anyone wants to do that, they are free to take that idea.
And yeah, but I have this long doc. So my problem is never not knowing what to write. It's either being too busy to write or just lacking the motivation. I can sit in front of the computer and know this is what I need to write, and I have the entire story in my head, but actually from getting it from my head to the computer, it kills me, and I just can't do it. And there's just and when I'm in that mode, there's just a million distractions. I'm Jensen going through an airport. Oh, pretty lights, and and everything does that to me. When there's a fly. Oh, the sun is setting outside. Oh, look, somebody posted something on Tumblr, and that there's just nothing that can keep my focus when I go into that. And I'm just like, well, I'm not going to get any writings done anyway. Having the doc open and staring at it is just going to beat the crap out of myself. So I'm just gonna give up for that day.
Yeah, when words just aren't coming, it's kind of like when you've got insomnia. They always say the worst thing to do when you have insomnia is lay in bed and not sleep. You know, get up and do something else and come back to it later, and then you'll be able to do it. In the chat,
that's where most of my fics are written, when I'm lying in bed and can't sleep and saying, screw it, I'm getting up and writing.
Either that or you're watching The Walking Dead with me.
Like the thing that I'm writing right now, it's what everybody wanted, part 2 to I Need More. And I'm at this point where I have a basic idea of what's going to happen, but I can't picture in my head what everybody's going to say. And so I haven't been writing it because I sit there and I'm like, I just don't know what they're going to say right now. So I just got to wait for them to talk to me, and then I'll be able to write it. In the chat, somebody said, do you ever think of ideas for fics that you have to stop and think that's too angsty or too out there or taboo?
I used to, and I got over it. No, seriously, when I was younger, I used to think, oh, that's too far. And I'm like, now I'm just like, eh.
I have ideas that I think somebody else could write, but I don't think I could write.
I always have ideas that are like, oh, this very specific author, they could write this great.
Yep.
Me, maybe somebody else good.
Like I get great DSDL ideas.
I have the 1960s Southern AU, and I posted a list of 5 different fics or something that people could vote. They wanted me to write, and Killzone won. But this Southern Lights was one of them, which is a black girl living in Southern America in the 60s, and Dean is the white guy, of course, and it's about the two of them and what happens in that very closed-minded town. And I'm gonna tell it from the now, where it's actually their daughter who is now a photo artist, and she is doing a showing and she's telling her parents' story through pictures and having gone back. But that was the idea of it. But just my wording of the summary and my pairing got a shitstorm in my asks, and I was actually at a point where I wished it would win because it annoyed me so much. And I'm just like, just because I want to write this does not make me a racist. I'm writing it because I think there's a need for people to remember history, for it not to fucking repeat itself, because that's what it's doing right now. Look at the shithead that you elected president in your country. History is gonna repeat itself. And we're not remembering history. And if we're not remembering history, then we are bound to repeat it over and over and over.
I keep forgetting to switch the person. I have to manually switch the people. I keep forgetting.
Okay, what's next?
Excellent question. Oh, it's another one.
I love, if people is wondering why we are laughing, it's because we have a Skype chat going, and Michelle just reminded Rachel. Everyone is just watching me nod and Kari talking, and yeah.
Alright, so the next one is from Anna. It says, Michelle, you have a really incredible style of writing. Even when there's less dialogue and feelings are not described, the person reading your fic feels the emotions deeply. I know I do, and I love it. My question is, how do you accomplish the show rather than tell aspect of writing?
That's something that I really do try to keep in mind when I'm writing. When I first started hearing about show don't tell, somebody once said, if you're using adverbs, stop. For those who aren't grammar Nazis, an adverb is any word that will describe a verb or an adjective. Most adverbs seem to end in ly. So if I write something like, he smiled happily, happily will make me stop and go, okay, all right, so he smiled happily. What does that look like? You know, Alistair's happy smile would look very, very different from Dean's happy smile. Likewise, if I write that someone said something angrily, well, what does that look and sound like? Are they growling? Is their brow furrowed? Are their hands, you know, clenched into fists? You know, I try to think about it like if I was watching a movie, what would it look like? What would it sound like? And then describe that.
Yeah, I have trouble with people saying he said, she said, Dean said, all the way through, and not adding something to said.
Yeah.
Because speaking is melodically. We don't speak the same way all the time. If I'm mad at Rachel, I sound differently. If I'm fake mad at her, I will sound another way. Mm-hmm. If I'm teasing, I'm sounding a third way. And I don't have to say say a line and Michelle teased Rachel. Yeah, I can describe it in the way I'm moving, or I can describe it in the way that my voice sounds when I'm doing it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And the other thing that I use to try to make people feel things is trying to use somebody's internal narrative. You know, as we walk through life, we don't necessarily think in complete sentences, but we definitely don't say everything we think. And sometimes
I wouldn't have a job if I did that.
So, you know, you don't have to just come right out and say, you know, Sam thought Dean was being ridiculous about this. You know, if you're writing from Sam's point of view, just have Sam quietly think, geez, Dean wouldn't be Dean if he wasn't blowing something out of proportion. Or, you know, yeah. Dean is typical drama queen, you know, something like that. You don't walk through the world with a sign saying I'm unhappy today. Instead, you kick the tires in your car when you're late for work. You fiddle with the hem of your shirt during the morning staff meeting. You snap the first person who asks you for help when you're obviously busy. And that tells people, oh, this character's unhappy. This is what's going on. This is the mindset that they're in. And that way it's easier. You know, if you think about the beginning of, you know, any chick flick, the first thing you see is the chick, and she's going through her day, and she's not necessarily talking to anybody, but you can see what kind of a day she's having. Is she walking with a bounce in her step, or is she trying to get through the rain and she's wet and she's got a newspaper over her head, and she, you know, all of a sudden a car goes by and makes her wet and she goes, "Arr!" You know, she didn't have to say, I'm having a bad day. You can see that. And that's what I try to do. Is I try to picture what does them being unhappy look like, and then describe that. Yeah,
you're also very good at that. Another thing you are very good at is also being very aware of a room. I think you don't tend to. A lot of authors stick 5 people in a room and focus on 2. Whereas the other people don't just stand there listening to other people talk. They are still there. And that's also a thing that I'm trying to get better at, is remembering every single person I have in the room at the same time. I don't have to remind people they are there all the time, but I can't forget them there. When my 2 main characters leave the room, I can't just leave the other 3 standing around like, then why did I put them in the room in the first place? That everything has a purpose and everything has to have a meaning, even if it's just small, insignificant little things in your mind, but they are gonna stand out to someone. And these small details is what can annoy the living shit out of me as a reader. If I start focusing on these things, I'm just like, yeah, Sam and the reader just left, but why was Cass and Sam there in the first place, or Cass and Dean there in the first place, and what are they doing now? Are they still just sitting in the kitchen because those 2 stormed off? But yeah, so that's yeah.
Yeah, I have.
That people would want me to follow the 2 mains, while my head can't do that. They are too focused on the lost detail. So,
you know, whenever somebody writes something that isn't quite canon compliant, and, you know, okay, they just had breakfast in the bunker kitchen and then they called Bobby. That right there always makes me go, all right, is this now something that did the writer do this on purpose? Did they write it this way because they just want a world where Bobby can be in the bunker? Or did they write it this way because this is actually a gin dream world, and in this particular gin dream, this reader wants Bobby to be in the bunker? Or, you know, what's going on? And
I think the thing that gets me the most is people forget what kind of powers Cass had when. So when something that is written in these now seasons and Cass just suddenly poofs in to help them, he cannot do that.
yeah.
he needs to get in the damn car and drive to where they are. And probably in with a very loud, annoying song on the radio, but yeah, he needs to drive to where he wants to get to.
And I mean, if you're gonna do that, and you just, you know, put an author's note in this, Cass has different powers because that's the way I want it to be. All right, fine, as long as we know that's the way you want it to be, and it's not some kind of a plot device, and that down the road this is all going to be a gin dream. Because that's the first thing that I always think of when I see something like that is, is somebody having a gin dream, or is this a nightmare?
Or like Steph just did. She's writing the Daddy's Little Love Bug series, and she just had the most amazing wedding where the little girl stubbornly kept praying to Cass, praying to Chuck to bring everyone back, because Cass said that he was the only one who could do that. So this little girl prayed to Chuck, and he brought back John and Bobby and William and Ellen and Joe and Charlie, and everyone was there. And I was just, it's the first time in a long time that Fluff had me crying, and I had tears running down my eyes, and I was just, this is perfect. And the little girl was in leather and flannel, and the reader got married in leather and not a wedding dress, and Dean in his old leather jacket, and it was just perfect, and I loved it, and I'm still getting emotional. Okay, so I think that was the last of the questions. So, which actually fits perfectly because I started writing Fics. I asked you to bring us 3 to 5 Fics of other authors, and you wanted to share with us that you think people should be reading?
Yes. Okay. Let's see. Ooh.
Rach, your mic is off. Is that on purpose?
Yeah, because somebody sent me something and I was trying to figure out what she was saying.
Okay.
Oh.
I didn't want you guys to have to hear it, so I just turned my mic off for 2 seconds.
Okay, the first thing, and actually it's not really one thing in general, it's Little Green Plastic Soldier, Allie. Oh my God, she's freaking awesome. I am so in love with her Toil and Trouble series right now, and before that, The Force of Habit. The Force of Habit was such a completely original idea. I'd never thought of, you know, what would happen if a djinn touched 2 people at the same time. And I just love that it was such a completely original idea and how she executed it. Toil and Trouble, I'm in love with Cat Dean. I think Dean as a cat is just stinking awesome.
You mean like that?
Yes, I love Cat Dean. I love Dog Dean. I don't know why I like animal versions of Dean. I don't know why. But anyway, Allie.
I'm just going to stop you real quick. Can you give a quick summary of these fics? Because Djinn Dream, I really love that fic.
Oh, The Force of Habit. Basically, Dean and the reader are married in a djinn dream. And then when Sam gets them out, they have to deal with the fact that in that dream, they were married for years. They had children together. But in the real world, they don't know each other. And how do they get back to being who they are in the real world and letting go of the habit they had of being together?
And I also love the way that she wrote mourning someone that isn't real, because they are actually mourning their kids. To them, they were real for a long time, but they were never there. So, yeah,
and that was powerful as well.
Yeah.
And then in Toil and Trouble, in order to defeat a witch, the reader becomes a witch, and Dean becomes her familiar for 7 days. And so for 7 days, they share a telepathic link, and he is dependent on her, and she has to take care of him. And it's just an unbelievable idea. And Dean is a cat. I love Dean as a cat.
I haven't read
So many cat memes out there that I'm like, oh my god, that's so Dean.
When I read that, I was just like, poor Dean, he's gonna be allergic to himself.
Yeah. The second series.
I got over it quick, but that seriously, that was my first thought. It's just, oh, that poor kitty is gonna be sneezing all the time.
The second series that I wanted to mention is by Spectacular Sammy, and it's called Not Unless Sam Says.
Oh my gosh!
This is what I came to fan fiction for. It's Canon Sam doing things you'll never see on the show, but he's still in character. And it's hot as freaking hell. Do not read it in public. Oh my god. Because he is Adam, the reader, is his submissive in this, but they are in a romantic relationship. She's a hunter, and she has now added a prequel to this series, which I didn't think that would be possible, and yet she's doing it.
The prequel is so good. I think I like the prequel the best.
How she figured out how to fit the reader into canon was genius.
Oh, it's so cool.
It's so angsty.
If you read it.
Oh my god. It is so wonderful.
Guys, are you seeing this right now? Like
What
this?
is she doing? The third one.
I knew this was gonna happen.
I knew. Hi, Wilma. But we also agreed that she's our mascot, so just get used to him.
Oh, she is? I didn't know we agreed to that.
The third one I want to mention is DLLB series. And only start reading this if you've got a few years of free time, because the original fic is over 500,000 words. It's called Out of the Deep, and it's on AO3 by a writer called Rise of the Fallen One. There's 4 parts to it. The first part is the original part. The first part is the original part. It's from Dean's point of view. And then there's another part that's from the whole story, but from Cass's point of view. And then there's a third part, which is actually kind of an AU of the whole story, where Dean and Cass are both mermaids of a different kind. There's 4 parts all total. And it's such a detailed world. This is the fic where the phrase Cass can't bottom because he's a fucking fish came from.
What?
Because Cass is the mermaid. If anybody's ever heard me say Cass can't bottom because he's a fucking fish, this is why. There's
I've not heard that.
so much detail about mermaids.
You managed to confuse us.
That's what I heard, Indiana.
Yes, and definitely download it, because from what I understand, they are trying to convert it into an actual book, so it won't be on AO3 forever. So if you ever need something to read on a very, 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 very long plane ride, that's a very, very, very good story. But like I said, everything Rise of the Fallen One writes is really, really good to read, but also very, very long. I'm not sure they can actually write anything less than 100K. So.
Just interjecting.
What was that?
How cute she is with her bandana.
Shush. And listen.
The next one that I want to recommend is a series by, it's also on AO3, but it's by Gray 2510 and Thayer Kabasi. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. It's called Hell on Earth series, and it starts with a fic called Well Endowed. And the premise of this is Crowley is now dead. When the executors of his estate go to execute his will, he left everything to Dean.
Kari.
He left hell to Dean. And obviously this was written back when Dean was still a demon, and he never changed it. So basically they come and then they have to decide, well, obviously Dean can't rule hell. He's not a demon anymore. And all of Crowley's contracts now go to Dean. So they have to figure out what to do with all these demon deals. And most importantly, Crowley has left Dean Juliet, his hellhound.
There was another, Kari froze in another frame position.
Part of this story is actually written in Juliet's point of view, which is stinking awesome, let me tell you, because Juliet cannot understand why her master would leave her to another master that's blind. He can't even see her. Not only that, they can't play fetch properly. It's an absolutely hilarious.
I want this fic.
And it's not too long, and it's really good. There's a few other parts to it. They've got there was a chapter that didn't really fit in the fic that they published separately to it, and there's a follow-up fic to it as well. But it's absolute genius. I would recommend anything that Gray 2510 writes, because
somewhere or AO3.
AO3. She's on Tumblr as well, but she doesn't post on Tumblr. But she's got a universe called the Light's Grace universe, where Dean has the mark of Cain, and Cass gets it off of him by giving up his grace. And Cass's grace kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Cass puts his grace into Dean, which erases the mark, but also erases Cass's grace. But that's how they get together in the beginning. And that's in the beginning of the story. And then they go on from there. In most of Gray's fics, Destiel is just a thing that is. It's not, most of her fics can actually be shown on television, and Destiel's just a thing. You know, everything's exactly the same as in canon, except Dean and Cass sit next to each other and hold hands sometimes. And, you know, make goo-goo eyes at each other. So they're not, it's not smut fics. It's not, the whole story isn't revolving around it. It's just there. And in the Light's Grace verse, she wrote several fics in that universe and brought back a lot of loose ends and tied them up. Ben, Claire, you know, back before Claire was even a thing on the show. And just, you know, really ingeniously made fics that actually could be part of canon. I think she should be a writer for the show, but that's just me. So, and the last one is somebody who's not with us anymore, and I wish we knew why, and I wish we could find her and get her back.
Okay, do your thing.
Yeah. Did you want to?
Yeah, but introduce who it is first.
Okay. They were both on Tumblr and on AO3 until they disappeared, and their name was CanonCanoff. I believe her name was Sam.
Yeah.
I did not know her very well personally, but I loved her writing.
Yes.
And one of my favorite smut fics ever. When you have lemons, please do not make lemonade, also known as keep your damn sex toys to yourself, Deborah. Oh my God, it's awesome. Oh my God, it's awesome. Deborah gives them a big box of sex toys, and she knows who's going to want which ones. And then they have to, the three of them, Sam, Dean, and the reader, have to just discuss amongst themselves why each toy is for them and not for somebody else. And there's a couple of surprises in that. And then they all have sex, which everybody knows I'm all for that. But it is an unbelievably hot fic with just a little bit of humor on top of it.
I think
that's what I came to fan fiction for.
I'm pretty sure she actually came back later and wrote a letter explaining what happened, why, and I think she posted like somewhere. I think on one of the blogs, maybe it has like a letter from Sam or something.
Oh,
I want to say. Oh, why am I getting? Who's trying to contact?
Oh, somebody sent me a message. Wrote a letter to her former followers explaining why she left and saying goodbye. There we go. And I missed it, and it's for 1.5 years old. And it's very long, so I won't be able to read it right now.
Oh, I have. I just got to ask about a very, very old fic. Very old fic. That's from a while ago. Okay, we're not going to worry about that right now. Yeah, she posted. I know she posted a letter.
So I need to go read that then.
Yeah.
So that's it. Those are my top 5 that I can think of off the top of my head.
Solid choices. Solid choices. Kari.
The fics that Michelle read of her own and the fics that she read of other authors is gonna be linked on a Tumblr post, and they are gonna be linked in the description.
If assuming I can figure out how to do it.
Yeah, if Rachel can figure out how to do it, they will be linked in the description as well. But they will definitely be linked in a Tumblr post that I'm making.
I need to put down the lighter.
I'm also gonna link to the other fics that we talked about. So my Killzone and Rachel's Craig Under Pressure. And
we talk about it, so it really doesn't count.
Okay.
Which, by the way,
Steph's daddy's little lockbox wedding.
Killzone would have been one of my 5 if I'd had 6.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're allowed to have 6, so go ahead and talk about Killzone if you want.
But I will also say that I wrote I was following you on YouTube again while I was gone, and I wrote a Ben and Claire series that had very little attention, but Michelle was reading it, and her comments was pretty much what kept that series going, because I loved her feedback on that. So yeah, but that was me fixing the mess that the show created in my head.
I mean, I can always Michelle, we can mute I can mute Kari, and then we can just talk about Killzone for a bit.
You don't have to mute me. I can stay quiet.
No, it's just the fact that I have the power to mute you.
All right, who gave Rach all the power?
I'm the one that can figure out. I'm the one that figured out how to do this. That's how it gave me the power.
Yeah.
Being
it was a really, really bad idea, but it was the one that we got, so it was the one that we went with.
Who gave Rach fire? I gave Rach fire because I have a job and I can buy my own lighter.
Don't set fire to your hair. Like watching Jensen trying to light Dean's lighter.
I mean,
it's supposed to be like an easy to do lighter because it's got a really big button and you're supposed to push this. Michelle, we're fire buddies.
Oh, apparently mine doesn't like to be lit too many times in a row. Yep, mine actually won't light if it overheats. Because I was having trouble lighting something once, and then all of a sudden the lighter stopped working, and I realized the end had overheated, and then it wouldn't light at all for me.
Cutscene to burning house. I'm in an apartment, so hopefully it doesn't burn down. Kari, you're not allowed to use your lighter. Put your lighter away, Missy.
Okay, that was super scary. I just put it down, and I still saw the fire on the screen because there was a delay, and I was just, ah!
See, the reason I had mine is because I got a vanilla candle. And it's sitting next to me, and it smells good.
Well,
okay.
If we're showing off candles.
Wait, let me make you big. What is it?
Family business.
Cool. What does it smell like?
Oh, it smells like apple pie. Like apple pie and pecan pie. Spiced apple pecan pie scent. Nerdtastic. I have a business card for them around here somewhere. I'm not sure. If you could see my desk, you'd understand why I don't know exactly where it is. Because crap. But Nerdtastic has all kinds of things, and I love their apple pecan pie scent. I also have a room spray. And I have an oil roller that I can use for perfume, and I smell like apple pie. Someday I'm totally writing a fic about that, by the way, where reader goes
smelling
to
like apple pie
convention and buys that perfume, and then all of a sudden Dean can't get enough of her. Smells like pie. That's on my list of things to write.
You're writing them a commercial, basically.
Yeah, basically, because I truly believe that if the reader smelled like pie, Dean would not be able to resist her.
Yeah, well, we have established that he sniffs the waiters, so I think that's kind of canon.
He did. He sniffed the waitress.
But not only that, he
I was
makes
just
sense
watching
to it as well.
Oh, one of my real life friends found out that I was doing this, and she wanted to watch.
Oh, well, Rachel, you need to do the rapid fire.
Yes, I do. I was about to segue into that.
Was rapid fire yet? Okay.
Let me find it.
I suck at rapid fire. I'm so slow.
We have showed Michelle all the other questions. These questions you haven't seen.
Kari, I don't know where it is.
At the bottom of the doc.
I'm trying to find the doc. We have several docs.
If you can't find them, I'm okay with that.
No, you're fine.
The one that says the writer's room at Rach and Kari. The R doc, where everything is in.
No, isn't it in the live stream doc? So that's called live stream?
Maybe. Live stream doc. Sorry.
My computer's trying to do too much.
I'm also wearing my wayward daughter's birth necklace that I got.
Nope, it's not that one.
Plastic.
I think it's in the doc I just said.
Ooh, I lost part of it.
Guys, we're a train wreck. Michelle just
Well, we established that Michelle is a guinea pig, so.
yes. Ooh, Michelle, look at Sarah's thing in the chat for your fic.
Ooh.
That sounds cool. I'm down for cursed.
But maybe read it out loud because you're.
Oh. Because people are gonna read this later. Sarah put, what if she doesn't know that she got the perfume from a witch and there's some kind of magical aphrodisiac in it?
It wouldn't be
okay.
much
I got the rapid fire. Do you want me to read them until I die again?
What?
No. Read the rapid fires before I die again.
I found it.
Okay, then go.
Okay.
You go.
Okay, I'm just gonna go. Beach or mountains?
Ooh.
Go.
God, I suck at rapid fire.
Coffee or tea?
Tea. Unless it's a latte or a cappuccino. Then coffee.
Cat or dog?
Cat.
Typing or handwriting?
Typing. Oh, God.
Asks or reblogs?
Reblogs.
Binge read or as each chapter is published?
Binge read.
Text or call?
Text.
Long or short fic?
Long.
Angst or fluff?
Both.
First or second person?
Second.
Pasta or pizza?
Pizza.
Rachel or Kari?
No, I can't. No. No.
Just know there's a right and wrong answer to this.
Yeah, I couldn't find one that was like a really good one to end on, so I figured, hey, that one will work.
At least you didn't ask.
I want to ask her if I can really quick. You skip. Canon or AU?
Canon or AU?
Yeah.
For writing, Canon. For reading, both.
Okay.
I don't think I'll ever write another AU again.
I love writing AUs.
World building is hard. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. That's why
I love writing AUs.
Especially with Cass. With Cass in an AU and with angels in general in an AU, but specifically Cass, because as an angel, he's so clueless about everything. Because he didn't grow up watching Star Wars. He didn't, grow up doing things. But in my AU, I had to think about that because he grew up with the Winchesters. So he would get all the pop culture references, you know, so it's hard to keep characters, canon compliant personality wise when they grew up in a different world.
True.
And there were different things.
But that goes for all of them, because Dean is the way Dean is because of the way he grew up. He's not
Right.
the loyal, kind-hearted person that he is the person that he is. But
Yes.
all of the trauma and PTSD is something that he gained along the way. That's not something he's born with. He's a
Right.
little boy that runs up to the crib and kisses his brother goodnight, and the smart little kid that says, "No, Daddy, he's not big enough to play football," or whatever it was John said to him. And yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what I keep it. I think it's the most difficult. I don't think it's that difficult with Cass, because he kind of has an underlying personality too that hasn't to do with making a joke out of him, which is basically done all the time because he doesn't get cultural references and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think the one that's the hardest is Sam, because he was a baby. We didn't see anything of who he would have been had he not grown up in this world. So he's the one that I struggled with the most when writing in AUs,
And
even
actually,
if he didn't.
I kind of disagree with that, because I think that in canon, Dean gave Sam everything that an AU Sam would have gotten. So all the love and support and everything else, Dean gave Sam that. So I think Sam in canon is very similar to the Sam that we would see had he grown up in a regular world. Especially if John and Dean were pressuring him to be something he doesn't want to be as he was growing up. So it doesn't matter what that something is. So I think Sam, my personal opinion, I think Sam actually is one of the few characters that wouldn't change a whole lot in an AU. Whereas with Cass, him being socially awkward, there has to be a reason behind that. Why is he socially awkward? Why is he afraid to talk to people, or why does he not know how to talk to people? If he grew up well socialized, with brothers and sisters and neighbors and stuff, so that he was playing with somebody from a young age, what then kept him from, talking to people and becoming, normal as far as that's concerned? What was it that made him so shy? So that's why Cass in particular gave me a headache.
I think I take the traits that they have in canon that I can use in the AU that I'm using. So we were talking about Killzone before, so let's stay in that one. I use Cass's smarts in Killzone, and I had a bit of fun with him kind of sneaking up on the reader, because Cass tended to poof in on Dean a lot, and so that's where that came from. And I used his Cass is very sure in the I think I used the first season's Cass more than the now seasons. They're very sure of what is right and what is wrong. And the stubbornness that there is to him. I hope that it comes across that he still cares a lot for Dean, but that it's the stubbornness that kind of puts a damper on him seeking him out and helping him and being the friend that he actually still is to him. Yeah. So I use some of those traits. And also I have no use for pop cultural references and stuff in Killzone, so I didn't really have to think about if Cass would know them or not.
In my age, he grew up with Dean and Sam, practically like they were brothers, practically in the same household. So I had to worry a lot about the interactions that Cass had with Dean and Sam, about you know, the usual, I don't get that reference when Dean says something, that kind of thing. That was the biggest hurdle that I had getting around, just because, yeah, he's a priest now, so that changes how he interacts with the world, but he wasn't always a priest. You know, he went to college and had a relationship in college, and, you know, it's not like he was completely virginal, because priests don't necessarily have to be virgins. They just have to be celibate after they take the vow. So that was something that I struggled with.
Why are we killing people in the chat?
We lost Kari again.
Oh. Well, rapid fire was supposed to be the last thing anyway, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm assuming if anybody in the chat had questions, they would have.
Now would be a good time because Kari's supposed to do the signing off. Does anybody have it? Takes a little bit of time to.
Ooh, when in doubt, kill off a character. I'm trying to think. In the one I'm doing right now, if I killed off a character, I think everybody would kill me. They'd come after me with pitchforks and torches and.
I'm getting messages from Kari that she's coming back.
Ah, what's the answer to life, the universe, and everything? I know the answer. Do you know the answer, Rach?
I know Sarah. So yes, I know the answer. That's her go-to question. She's a brat. Hey, Kari has joined the video call. Kari, would you like to sign us off?
Hello.
Please stop before Kari.
Did you kindly thank Michelle for being the guinea pig?
I was about to until you interrupted me.
Okay, then you can do that.
Yes, ma'am.
Then I can look what's next week.
Well, we were hope you guys all enjoyed our chaos. It was fun. I don't know if it was fun on your end. It was fun on our end. But thank you, Michelle, for coming and playing with us and waiting in the sidelines while I got my tire fixed and all of that good stuff. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks to all of all 8 of our viewers.
We had like.
I think we were 13 and 14 at some point, so we just lost some along the way.
Well, I mean,
we will try and make it a bit shorter next week when we get. Yeah, but thank you, Michelle, for doing this, and it has been fun, and it's also always great hearing your opinions on things, and thank you for introducing us to some great fics that we haven't heard of before. I haven't heard of before, at least.
Yay, Michelle.
Yeah, and next week we will be talking about real people fics, and our guest will be Jamie at Team Free Will Imagine. So tune in. No, that's not next week. It's in 2 weeks because it's semi-weekly. So yeah. It will be on the.
So it's not next week. It's the week after next.
Yeah, and it's at around the same time. So it will be Sunday, the 15th of October, and it will be around 9 p.m. CET or 3 p.m. East.
So if you're East Coast US, our aim is for 3 o'clock. Only reason that didn't happen because I was at the Walmart getting my tire changed.
Yeah, and but that's our aim generally. And if I know we got a few guests that needs to get home from church some Sundays, so it might be later some Sundays. So, but it's around that time, and we will post links on both our blogs and probably on the guest blog as well. So, yeah, thank you to everyone who has been watching, and thank you again to Michelle.
And as always, you can send us questions. Yep.
Yeah. If you got any questions on real people fics, or if you got any questions for Team Free Will Imagine, then you can send them to my inbox, or you can send them to Rachel's. And I will put that link up again. My blog. Bye.
Oh, we got. Is that all we got? All righty. How about we end with some more loud and swaying, guys?
Yes, let's do that. Yay.